From OAKLA to LV, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what is going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and before I get into today's news and rumors, I got to give a special shout out to our brand new sponsor, Savvy Lifestyle. Now, let's just face it, coming up with a Father's Day gift, dude, man, that shit's not easy, and sometimes your gifts, they're just not cutting it. So if you want an awesome gift for Father's Day, go to chatsports.com/knife and use code 50Raiders because I'm hooking you guys up with a 50% off discount code. But you got to go to that link below or else you're not going to get set up. And these 17 professional set of stainless steel knives, they're also blacked out for Raider Nation. We had some news happen today around the Las Vegas Raiders. They have decided to bring back veteran offensive tackle Sam Young. He has agreed to a one-year deal. That is at least according to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. I don't know the exact the exact contract details yet. However, I am going to take my guess, and I am going to say that it is going to be for a vet minimum. There's no doubt that he's going to be able to add some depth to this offensive line. In terms of how much playing time is he going to get, if I'm being 100% honest with y'all, I actually hope that Sam Young never touches the field a single time this year. That means Kolton Miller's healthy and doing the right thing. That means Alex Leatherwood's healthy and doing the right thing. But when you see a move like this, it does make me think a little bit of what the Raiders potentially think with some of their other players on their roster. Maybe with a guy like Brandon Parker. Maybe with somebody like Jaryd Jones-Smith, right? Like, you really think of how does this team feel about this depth? Now, for a guy like Sam Young, he's been around the block or two on like 6 or 7 different teams, 33 years old, played in 10 games last season, had allowed 3 sacks as well, also was a little bit of a turnstile at times. But again, I like this move in terms of depth, but I actually hope he never steps foot on the field. So what's your one-word reaction to the Raiders bringing back Sam Young? I want you to go down in the comments section right now, and I want you to let me know. So if you want to throw in a curse word, always remember YouTube is going to end up blocking it, so I'm just letting you know. But a one-word reaction to the Raiders bringing back Sam Young, I want you to comment below. My one-word reaction is depth, because that's exactly what this is. Like, I get the fact that the Raiders moved on from a lot of different offensive linemen. The other good thing about having Young is he is a swing tackle, so he can actually play left tackle. He can play right tackle. You can throw him all over the field. He actually lined up at guard a few times last season at training camp. But the reason why he got some playing time last year, let's face it, Trent Brown was an absolute spook show where you just never knew if he was actually going to play or not. So right now, the Raiders' offensive depth chart looks a little bit like this. You still got Kolton Miller and Brandon Parker and Seymour. They're going to hold down the left side. Sam Young, he's going to do his best to back up Alex Leatherwood and maybe just put a little bit of a veteran presence in that locker room. When you look at what Young did last season in 2020, according to PFF, he played in 382 snaps, an overall grade of 59.0, his pass blocking grade of 55.9, run blocking grade 62.8. He allowed 18 pressures last year. That number definitely needs to get better, especially in the limited amount of snaps that he played. 3 sacks allowed, 1 quarterback hit, 2 penalties. There was like 1 or 2 games I was like, wow, Sam Young looks really good. And there was a few other games I was like, okay, yeah, that's the Sam Young that I know. Hopefully, though, again, he doesn't step foot on the field. Now, I went on to say, actually, that I believe there's only like a 2 Chucky head chance that Young actually makes the 53-man roster because I'm a believer that they want to stay young at certain positions, and Young just really come in to bring in and put a little bit more pressure on some of these other players here. But I also said that last offseason, and Young ended up making the 53-man. So go down in the comments section right now and let me know. Y for yes or N for no, will Sam Young make the 53-man roster of the Las Vegas Raiders? If you're going to go ahead and type your N for no, maybe give me a few other players that you think could ultimately make the team. Now, I want to give a special shout-out to everyone that is subscribed to the Raiders Report. We just hit 79,000 subs. We just hit Darius Stills type of numbers. But you know what? I'm not satisfied. Let's get to 80K subs. Now, we've been doing a lot of videos literally every single day for 365 days of the year. And if you find yourself looking for news and rumors, we got you covered. If you want live shows, remember, we go live every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. But I predicate myself on being able to give the nation a voice and really having a freaking, I almost dropped the F-bomb, an interactive show here for the nation. So I want to give a special shout out to David Potts. Metal Glass Production, Ruben, Jarvis Lawson, and Team Chant. You guys are new to the Raiders Report channel. I appreciate that you guys hit that sub button. But again, I want to get to 80K subs. So take that link that y'all see below, youtube.com/RaidersReport, and I want you to send it to some of your friends. Are the Las Vegas Raiders going to end up cutting Brandon Parker? This is the next story here on the Raiders Report. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this one 2 Chucky heads. I'm going to say people are talking. It's a 50-50 chance. So if you're sitting at home right now, you got a quarter nearby, I want you to flip it up in the air. I want you to call heads or tails. And if you guess heads and it's heads, he's going to stay. If you guess heads and it lands on tails, he's going to get cut. At least that's personally what I believe. A report came out as soon as the Raiders went out and signed Sam Young from Vic Tafur of The Athletic that said, with this move of signing Sam Young, that means Brandon Parker is going to get buried on the depth chart just a little bit more. When I saw that information, I was like, all right, normally Vic is pretty up to date on some of these things. So I was like, if that's the case, Parker then gets bumped down the depth chart a little bit. And for the Raiders signing Young, that puts them over, I believe now they're at 91 players as the time I'm making this video. You got to get down to 90, which means some guy on the Raiders right now is about to get cut. Now he's 6'8", 320 pounds. That is like everything Tom Gable loves in an offensive lineman. However, you got to remember, Parker is not part of this Mayock-Gruden scheme. He was drafted right before Mayock came and started being the new general manager of the Raiders, which is definitely something to think about and definitely some importance here. Last season, played in 8 games, only allowed 1 sack. Just like I said about Sam Young, you do not want Brandon Parker ever to step foot on the field. He is just simply depth, and that makes me ask y'all, will the Raiders cut Brandon Parker here? I want you to type K for keep, or I want you to go down in the comments section and type C for cut. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept him because they do need some depth on that line, especially when you have somebody in Leatherwood. Yes, I believe Leatherwood's going to be good, but you still need some depth there. But you also need to look at a lot of the other moves here that they made, and if you are going to type your C for cut, I'm like, all right, well, you drafted Alex Leatherwood in round 1. You brought back a guy like Sam Young, who was, 33 years old now at this point. If you remember about a month ago, Mike Mayock, he spoke about one offensive tackle, and that guy was Jaryd Jones-Smith. He didn't bring up Brandon Parker, so maybe this is one of those things where you're seeing them, okay, we're starting to read the tea leaves here a little bit. But also, I mentioned the whole 2018 draft class because that was the class right before Mayock. I'm going to walk you through every single player that was taken in 2018, and then you can find out real quick who's still on this roster or not. Kolton Miller, drafted in round 1, number 15 overall. He's still on the team. Guess what they did? They just gave him a nice big old fat extension, which kind of goes to show how they feel about him. P.J. Hall, hasta la vista, baby. Brandon Parker, still on the roster. Arden Key, crybaby Arden, he's gone. Nick Nelson, see ya. Moehrig, the guy that I wish was still on the team, but they cut him too. Johnny Townsend, cut. Azim Victor, cut. Marcell Ateman still on the roster. I mean, with all this cuts, luckily, Savvy Lifestyle's hooking up Raider Nation. That's all I got to say. But when you look at the Raiders' offensive line depth chart here, you got Kolton Miller, Incognito, Andre James, Denzel Good, Leatherwood. I'm actually confident in our starters, despite what a lot of people might say. But in terms of the tackle position alone, until I see Leatherwood step on the field, there is going to be a question mark there. And then if I got to rely on Parker, Jones, or Sam Young, I mean, that's not what I want to see. And definitely what I don't want to see is these type of grades right here from Parker. At least this is what he did in 2020, according to Pro Football Focus. Played in 345 snaps. Overall grade, 48.9. A pass blocking grade of 55.3. A run blocking grade of 45.6. Definitely not what you're looking for. Now, I'll also throw this out there. Parker played 122 snaps at left tackle, and he was also able to play 222 snaps at right tackle. So he did offer you a little bit of versatility there, but he allowed 13 pressures, which was actually less than Sam Young. Sacks allowed last season, 1 compared to Young's 3. QB hits, 2. Penalties, 3. The area that he got beat a lot was definitely by people who were just simply quicker, and if you're getting beat at right tackle, even left tackle, I mean, Brandon, I'm sorry, but you just can't be a reliable starter, but he's a halfway decent backup. But how good is he? From a scale from 0 to 100. And I want you guys to be legit here, right? Because that's why we do this show. I don't do this show to tiptoe around what I personally think. I don't do this show to make people upset. I do this show for Raider Nation. I do this show for the people that have spent 20, 30, 40 years rooting for this team. I do it for them. I don't really do it for the players. So I want you to be honest here. Scale from 0 to 100. How good is Brandon Parker? Now, today's newest sponsor is Savvy Lifestyle, and I'm excited to be able to hook these guys up here and get them on the Raiders Report. Not only because do they have awesome products, because the deal that they're hooking us up here with. So a 17-piece professional knife set, which you guys can get at chatsports.com/knife. If that's hard to remember, it'll be in the comments. It'll be in the description. You can also just hit me up on IG. I can hook you up with it. But, I mean, look at this deal. Usually these knives are $99.99. I have never felt more like Billy Mays in my entire life. We're literally cutting down the prices here down to $49.99, but you got to use code 50Raiders. It's the only way you're going to get set up. Now, if you're wondering what exactly comes in this 17K set, bear with me here. It's got a modern acrylic stand, 13 stainless steel kitchen cutlery set, 6 steak knives, peeler, scissors, sharpener, pizza cutter wheel. What could you possibly want more? I have absolutely no idea. And if you noticed, it's blacked out. These are knives made for Raider Nation. They are blacked out stainless steel. And the other reason why I'm really excited is because my man Will watches the Raiders Report and was like, hey, I own this Savvy Lifestyle company. I would love to put my knives on the show. He's a Raiders fan, so go ahead and support my guy. And if you need a brand new pair of knives, I mean, usually $100 knives for only $49.99, that's a hell of a deal. Father's Day is coming up around the corner, so to make sure that you don't get cut out of your family, maybe you should get Dad something special. It's again at chatsports.com/knife. Support a Raiders fan, show some love to him, and save 50% off because this deal right now is absolutely killing it. Will, appreciate you reaching out to me, my guy. And again, go ahead and support him. Go get yourself some awesome knives, chatsports.com/knife, but you got to use that promo code 50Raiders to save 50%. 4 players impressing at OTAs. We're talking about it here at the Las Vegas Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz ready to break it all down for you. So I've been covering the Raiders for really closely here at OTAs for like the last 2 weeks, and I've been like picking up a few things on what some players are putting down. The first player I want to be able to bring up here who has really been impressing this week, it's Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle. He's going to be your right tackle starter. He was drafted number 17 overall this upcoming year draft, but everything that I've seen so far, he's doing a great job with Tom Cable, but he's also impressing the veterans. And when I say veterans, I say that in air quotes because the Raiders are one of the youngest teams in the league. But I found this pretty interesting quote from Richie Incognito, and this is something that I've said multiple times. Incognito is going to be a captain on this year's team. Guarantee it, lock it in for Chucky Heads. So this is what Incognito said on Leatherwood. Yeah, he's a big body. He comes from a storied program at Alabama, and he's done a ton of winning. A couple of national championships underneath his belt. He's a quiet kid. He's a hard worker. He's picking up on the offensive line coach Tom Cable is laying down, and I expect him to have a big year. He also goes on to say this, or at least actually Cleveland Furrow goes on to say this about Alex Leatherwood, Humble kid. I like the idea that he just comes in and goes to work. So I think him coming from Alabama and me coming from Clemson, I think one of the biggest things he learned is already kind of knew how to conduct himself like a pro. So he already practices in a manner to where he knows the tempo. He's not really overwhelmed with too much of his plays. So that was the first winner that I want to be able to bring up. And at least if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe Incognito and Cleveland Furrow. Next guy I want to talk about here is Moehrig, who the Raiders drafted in the second round, 43 overall. They actually traded up for the free safety product at a TCU. This is one of those dudes that I saw this pick, and I was super excited. I was like, I'm telling y'all right now, this could probably be the best rookie that the Raiders have on their roster, not only for overall talent, but also for fit and the cover 3 style of defense that Gus Bradley is going to run, where Moehrig can just be that true center fielder. So this is a pretty interesting quote that I saw from Darren Waller, who right now is probably my favorite Raider on the roster because this dude just tells you exactly how it is. Tre'von has a very calm nature about him. He doesn't really get too flustered or all over the place or out of control. He seems very dialed in and on top of what he's doing. To have somebody be able to come in, be dialed in, and know exactly what they're doing with a new defense, on a new football team, and a brand new league is something that I like to see a lot. But I'm also pretty excited that the top 2 players that were talked about were Leatherwood and Moehrig, the top 2 picks in this year's draft. So we're going to get into some more rookies coming up here in a little bit. We're also going to get into a UDFA player as well. But which out of these 2 guys do you think is going to have the bigger impact for the Raiders this upcoming season? If you think it's Leatherwood, I want you to type A. If you think it's Moehrig, I want you to type T. Next guy coming up here on the Raiders report, at least a guy that's been impressing at OTAs, it's cornerback Nate Hobbs. Now, Hobbs was drafted in the 5th round, 167 overall out of Illinois. And if I'm going to be real with y'all, I was actually on ESPN Honolulu the other day, and I literally said this. I was like, out of all the draft picks, this was one of the guys that I actually didn't like the most. And because I just didn't know what we were going to get, I had a 7th round grade on him. I'll get it right eventually. But I did say this, he is a freak of an athlete, and if he can just get some of his technical things down and continue to work hard, he'll be a good player, which is exactly what Tre'von Mullen had to say on Nate Hobbs. I feel like he's going to be really talented. He practices hard. He goes through his drills very well. I like the way he approaches practice. I feel like he's going to be a real good player for us as a long time, as long as he just keeps his mentality up and keeps going hard every single day. And if I'm Mullen, I actually 100% agree with this quote. All right, let's go to the next player coming up here, and it's going to be around a UDFA. It's Darius Stills, defensive tackle. I had a round 4 grade or a round 5 grade on Stills, so the fact that he didn't get drafted, I was pretty surprised about. And when you look at a guy like David Irving, who ended up getting moved on from, Stills could easily go ahead and fill in for him. Now, he's coming out of West Virginia. He's going to be wearing 79, and I just crossed 79, you know what, so I was pretty excited about that. But here's what Cleveland Ferrell had to say on young Darius Stills. I don't really evaluate guys until we put the pads on, but a guy who I like a lot is Darius Stills, an undrafted rookie from West Virginia. Real good dude, but he's got a lot of twitch. He played 3 technique. He's got a bunch of twitch. You can just tell in his movements when we're on drills and stuff like that. He's got a little something to him, so I like his game a little bit. So those were the 4 players that I really thought were the most interesting. So I'm going to ask you this question here about Stills, because Hobbs is going to make the roster, Moehrig, Leatherwood, obviously those guys are going to make it. But when you're a UDFA, it's really hard to be able to find a spot on a roster. So if you think that he is going to make the team, I want you to type 4 for believe it, baby. If you're like, you know what, Mitch, I don't think he's got a chance, I want you to type 0 for tuck rule, tuck that. Now, if you guys like the show, if you enjoy the Raiders Report, don't be afraid to hit me up on Instagram at Mitchell Renz 365. And if you go ahead and get started with Savvy Lifestyle, send me a picture that you guys ended up supporting one of our sponsors. I'd be happy to put you on my Instagram. Hell, I'd probably even put you on the show because I want to be able to show Will, the guy who owns Savvy Lifestyle, that we're a family. That's what the nation does. So go ahead, support him. And so if you go ahead and get his product, hit me up on IG, Mitchell Renz 365. Before I go, I do got one more little tidbit here. The Raiders, they went out and signed tight end Alex Ellis. So he played a little bit of last season on the Chiefs practice squad. 28 years old, just another body here for the tight ends, which I do actually find kind of interesting because obviously you have Darren Waller, who's a top 3 tight end. Foss Moreau is a player that I like a lot as well. But then you also got Carrier, Matt Bushman, a UDFA that I like, Carson Williams, who has actually never played college football. He was just a college basketball player. And now you add also Alex Ellis to a room with Nick Bowers. I don't 100% know if Ellis is going to make this team, and in fact, I would bet that he doesn't. But the fact that we're going out and we're adding all these tight end again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me personally. Maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe Foss Moreau isn't 100% healthy. That's really the only personal thing that I could see why we're going out and getting all these other tight ends. But my job here at the Raiders Report is keep you guys updated on news and rumors. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So if you made it this far in the video, if you haven't already, subscribed and go ahead, like the video. Nope, the video isn't over yet. So actually, as soon as I ended the video, the Raiders went out and they made a few moves. So I just wanted to be able to keep you guys updated on it. They finalized the deal with tight end Alex Ellis, who we just mentioned. They also went out and signed safety Roderick Teamer. In those corresponding moves, the Raiders then also decided to move on from Eric Magnuson, offensive lineman, and then tight end Carson Williams. That's the latest going on around the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I think this time I'm actually done.